Hello, I'm Brian Eslick from How to Automotive. In today's episode, I wanted to talk to you about tire inflators that you may be considering for your off-road vehicle. So come with me. So right here, we're featuring the brand new Milwaukee Tool M18 tire inflator. I just ran it through an extreme test on this vehicle right here and also on my Jeep behind me. And the reason why I ran the test is I wanted to determine, is this really worthy of putting in the Jeep and taking on off-road adventures? You know, is it fast enough? Can it handle it? Do I need multiple battery packs? So I did this test with one battery pack. I aired down all four tires on this vehicle, and I'll explain that more in just a second. So one of the biggest things I wanted to know test-wise is this capable of supporting an off-road vehicle, airing up tires while you're out 4x4ing and off-wheeling, while you're out off-roading. So we air these tires down. Well, we do it on my Jeep, but this is my truck here, and we usually run these around 50 psi. So I aired them down to 15 psi. I'm going to do a little time-lapse test here to see how long it takes to air up all four tires, aired down to 15 up to 50 psi, to see if the new M18 tire inflator is capable of doing it, and if it is capable of doing it, how long it takes, and if that's a feasible time limit, and the tool holds up to it, I will happily put that in my Jeep and run that for a while, versus doing power tanks or onboard air compressors built onto the Jeep there. And this would probably save me a ton of money if it's capable of doing it. So I'm curious to see if it's capable of doing it. So I'm going to set this test up, and we're going to run a time lapse and see how long it takes to do it and see if it did it. One of the things I did notice while this thing was running is this has internal fans inside the motor here to keep the pump cool. So that's a big benefit. One of the reasons why I definitely would not use my little M12 as a off-road vehicle tire inflation tool is because it gets really hot. It sucks the batteries down pretty fast. So in this test right here, we got a fully charged 6 amp hour battery. I'm gonna try to do all four tires and see if there's any battery life, or if I have to swap out a battery pack in the middle of this. So stay tuned, and I'll let you know how all that ran. So right now I'm going to run the time lapse. Here we go. While the time lapse test is running, I'm going to go over some of the features that the new M18 tire inflator has. So one of the new unique features to the new tool is it has ability to program up to 4 vehicles or 4 settings in memory here. So one of the reasons why I'm excited to add this to my collection is I have a mini fleet of vehicles. So I have a Jeep Cherokee here. It's a Trailhawk Edition. I have my Jeep Wrangler here, which is our toy, and it's running on 35, soon to be 37-inch tires, and we're going bigger with this vehicle here. Back here is the workhorse. We got the F-250 that we use here on our little farm. And then my daily driver to get me to and from the shop is my little Subaru here. All of these run different tire pressures, and one of the new features for the M18 tire inflator is this has programmable memory, so you can pre-program up to 4 vehicles. Push the memory button here. So memory, let me go through the cycle here. So you press your memory button here. This is memory number 1, and then you could preset that. So say if I wanted to set that to my little commuter car, I'll press and hold this, get it up to 32 psi, and then press and hold for a couple seconds. Now once it blinks like that, now that memory is set and saved. Now you can go to your next one and program it, next vehicle and program it, next vehicle and program it, and when you get back to the original one, there it is. It's already preset. Then you hook it up to your car, push the button, you're good to go. It'll run your tire pressure up to that preset settings you have there. It's a pretty cool feature. So here's a side-by-side comparison to the M12, the original version, and the new M18 version here. As you can see, it's quite a bit larger. It's about 13.8 inches long. It's 6.4 inches wide and 7.8 inches tall from the top to the bottom here. So it has a little bit of size to it, but that's to accommodate the ability to run multiple battery packs, anywhere from the 5 amp hour all the way up to a 15 amp hour battery that will fit in here. So here in a second, I'll air down some tires on my vehicle here and show you the new M18 in action to show you how long it would take to air a tire up versus the M12 here, and you'll see a big difference in the speed. So I got my tire deflator here. We're going to drop the pressures down here. So I aired this tire down to about 14 psi here, and that's about where I would run it on the trail. So now I'm going to go ahead and install the valve core here, and then we'll air the tire back up. I run it on the street around 28 psi, so we're going to see how long it takes to air up a 35-inch tire from 14 pounds back up to 28, where I run it on the street. So on the back of the unit here, it has a place to wrap the hose up and keep all your accessories all right here. And this is a 3-foot long hose here. I do wish the hose was a little bit longer. If you're carrying a spare tire like on this vehicle here, with the tool on the ground, it will not reach the stem if it's pointed upwards in the upwards position like this. I would consider that a slight drawback. So while I was doing the extreme test in the previous video clips with the time lapse, I wanted to go ahead and do another clip here and show you guys the difference between the M18 and the M12. So right here, we're going to do a side-by-side comparison of the two tools. In this test right here, I'm gonna do two things in this test right now. One, we got it aired down to 14 psi, as you can see here. And then we're gonna run this test. We're gonna air it up to 28 psi. We're gonna see how long it takes. Then we'll swap over to the old version, the M12 version, and we'll do the exact same test. We'll air it down real quick and run it up to 28. And I will run time lapse on this so you don't have to sit through the whole thing. But I'll have a stopwatch here on my cell phone, and I will show you how long it takes. There's another feature I wanted to point out that this has, and it's their ability to accurately check the PSI. So what happens is this is going to air the tire up, and when it approaches the target pressure that we set, it's going to shut off, stabilize for a minute, and then turn back on, and then finish airing up to the settings that we choose. So I'm going to air this up to 28 psi. So if you hold the button down, it goes up in 5 psi increments. If you tap the button up or down, it'll do 1 psi increments. So we're at 14. We got it set at 28. We're going to push the button. Let me get my timer set here. I cut out the audio because it sounds a little funny with the camera sped up. So right now we're doing the time-lapse test, and it's going to come up, approach to the pressure. It's going to shut off and then restart, and then it'll check the pressure again. So you see it shut off. Now it's checking. Now, Milwaukee claims that it has a 1% accuracy or 1 psi percent accuracy, plus or minus 1 psi. So to air it all the way up from 14 psi up to 28 on a 35-inch tire, it took approximately about, I hesitated a little bit, it took about 2 minutes and 15 seconds to accurately air that all the way back up. So now I'm going to time lapse it, and I'm going to do the same test on the M12, and I'll show you the difference. All right, so now I got the M12 hooked up. Drop back down to 14 psi here, and we're gonna start the test at the same time here and start the timer. I'll put this on a time lapse, and you'll see the difference, how long it takes. As you can see, it's still going, and it finally hit 28 psi. It also depleted half the battery. This is a 4 amp hour battery. So I tried using the M12 OffRoad before, and I had to use at least 3 battery packs to do it. And to air up all 4 tires, it was pushing 30 minutes to do all 4 tires. And that was just airing up from around 14 psi up to 28. Also, during this test and in previous tests, the M12 here got extremely hot when you're doing this. And I noticed that the M18 here did not have nearly any temperature change at all, during this particular test. Now, in the extreme test, we'll double check that and see how that goes. So now we're back to the extreme test, and this is the time lapse of that. So in this test, a reminder that we're doing this from 15 psi all the way up to 50 psi. One of the great things about this tool is to be able to program it and go and do something else while this is running or pumping up the tires. You can do other things. You don't need to babysit it. It'll shut off automatically. And so it just finished airing up all 4 tires. Let me stop the stopwatch here. I'll reveal that in just a second, how long it took to air up all 4 tires from 15 psi all the way up to 50 psi. This is kind of an extreme test to see if this unit will handle being an off-road vehicle air supply or compressor. So I wanted to do an extreme test, and I just ran that test. Before I reveal the numbers, I wanted to let you know that this thing did awesome. The hose here is a little warm, but the unit itself, it's just lukewarm. It's not very hot at all. But if you listen, you can hear the fan running. There's an internal fan in there keeping this cool. So like I said, 15 psi all the way up to 50 psi, 4 tires, 1 battery. This is a 6 amp hour battery. It took it down to 1 bar, but I did not have to swap it out on all 4 tires. It ran the whole test completely. As you can hear, the fan just turned off right now. I'm pretty amazed with the test. So here's the results. 4 tires from 15 to 50 psi. Here is the results on the time. It took 23 minutes. Now 23 minutes is not bad, considering it's a cordless battery powered tool. And if I just wanted to get off the trail, I would have bumped these up to around 28 to 30 pounds, maybe up to 34 at the max. So I could take off at least 10 minutes of time off of this for sure. So 4 tires to get you aired up, in 10 minutes, 12 minutes at the most, get you off the trail is not bad at all. I would say this little compressor passed the test with flying colors, and I'm definitely going to carry this in my Jeep when I'm doing my off-road adventures. I would recommend this tool. So this is coming out this month. If you're interested in it, I will put the part numbers and stuff in it. There's no links for it just yet because it's not quite out yet. But I would recommend the M18 inflator here. I'm Brian Eslick from How to Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching and encourage you to subscribe.